So as the story indicates here, David Spade plays a child actor who fell into obscurity as an adult and attempts to revive his career by getting a part in Rob Reiner's next film. In order to do that, he's going to have to rent a family out for a month. And I didn't think I'd ever find a movie that would take a storyline out of Surviving Christmas, the movie that came out a year later, but there you go. Like, I completely forgot that these two movies are pretty much the same film. We'll delve more into Surviving Christmas because that movie is far more of a cinematic disaster than this movie is, although this movie ain't doing itself any favors. I mean, there's some fun ideas overall. Like, I do like the idea that they got all these different former child stars to come in here and just make fun of themselves. I mean, that's kind of fun. Like, I like the idea of the scene where David Spade's playing a card game with, like, Leif Garrett, Barry Williams, Dustin Diamond, Danny Bonaducci. I mean, that's a fun idea overall here. Corey Feldman's also in here, Emmanuel Lewis, but it's pretty much a lackluster Adam Sandler movie. I mean, it's not as bad as something like The Hot Chick or anything like that, but it's still not a great movie either. I mean, when they have to use, celebrity boxing as a purpose for one part of the storyline here, you know how dated this movie is pretty quickly. I mean, celebrity boxing wasn't even on the air when the movie came out. That thing was like a year of thing that they did two things of, and then they never did it again. That was in 2002. This came out in 2003, and the humor is pretty lackluster. Like, I get it. The whole idea is that he's supposed to have a childhood again, David Spade's character, but come on, man. In the stroller, an older guy in a stroller, but like that, him having the hots for his mother, which then again, it's Mary McCormack. I mean, have you seen her? Jesus. I mean, Private Parts in Plain Sight. I mean, I'd be in that same situation too if I was in David Spade's shoes, but still, it's just like, you get the obvious jokes there. I mean, there's not really anything that clever or funny in this movie. And there's definitely signs of something that could work here, but this just really goes to show that in terms of films, David Spade just, once Chris Farley died, I mean, it really was really tough for him to go out on his own, because he and Chris Farley were just such a great comedy duo that sadly never really went anywhere after Chris Farley died. But it's not to say that David Spade isn't a terrible actor per se. I mean, I've seen him be funny mostly on television. Just Shoot Me is a very funny show. He was great on Rules of Engagement. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff on TV that's actually really funny. But when it comes to movies, he's very hit and miss. I mean, Joe Dirt was fine for what it was, but it definitely was a film that wasn't a great comedy overall. And this just feels like there's pieces there of something that could possibly work, but it just doesn't really amount to anything. You get the same mediocre jokes we've seen done over and over again. The jokes really aren't that funny. They don't really do a whole lot in terms of the story. You can kind of predict how it's going to turn out, and it just doesn't really end up going anywhere that you think that this could probably go. And, I mean, I would say that this is basically a bad TV pilot, but legitimately, this was originally a TV pilot. I mean, this was something that Paramount, Saturday Night Live, when Fred Wolf and David Spade were on there, they actually wrote a sketch for that for the show that Macaulay Culkin hosted, but they eventually cut it. And then the WB was going to do they've sent the idea to the WB, but they turned it down, and so on and so forth. It was actually a dark comedy at one point, and then Adam Sandler came in and said, we'll make it, and lo and behold, we have the movie here. I mean, it's just, the jokes really aren't that funny. Good ideas in here, just wasted opportunities overall. Just a film that had some potential to it, but just never really got to that point where it should have been something very funny, but it just didn't really do it for me. I mean, it's a film that, it's not that great, but again, I'd rather take this over some of Rob Schneider's terrible comedies, and there have been a lot of bad comedies from Rob Schneider. Like I said, The Hot Chick, terrible film, but at least this one is at least somewhat tolerable, but not enough for me to recommend it, honestly. So, yeah, that's Dickie Roberts' former child star for you. The biggest new release of the weekend, barely making $7 million to be the #1 movie at the box office. That's how bad the box office weekend was for this movie. So, with that said, let's move on to the last movie we have here, and that is Heath Ledger in The Order.
I need to speak with you. There's a pressing matter in Rome.
Alex Bernier has a gift for solving the mysteries of the beyond.
My little brother was murdered. They brought Alex in to consult.
but a pattern of bizarre deaths.
Do you know what these are?
Birthmark.
It's not a birthmark.
Has led him to a conspiracy.
One of those.
It's the image of Christ. Blood in, blood out. What's the ceremony?
In a place no one would expect.
What do you know about the order? What are you talking about?
Rogue priest outside the jurisdiction of the church.
I assume that the two of you plan to seek them out.
Now she must battle a secret order.
Alex, what are you thinking?
It was murder. I've seen the marks on the body myself.
There will be no inquiry.
That is using a supernatural killer
I'm afraid. You should have been.
to take absolute control of an empire.
There are some things worse than death. You must stop this investigation immediately.
Walk away, Alex.
Something terrible is gonna happen.
Let's settle. Get as far away from here as you can.
Say goodbye, Alex.
What's going on here?
What's going on here?
The Sin Eater.
I won't stop until I find the truth.
The truth is, The Sin Eater is not the actual title of this movie, although it's the working title of it. I mean, they even say the order in the trailer. I mean, but it's originally called The Sin Eater, and that's not a good sign when you take a title that sounds pretty badass and just change it to The Order. I mean, what kind of a title is The Order? I mean, when I think of this, I don't think of a Da Vinci Code-esque thriller. I think of like a movie where a comedy that takes place at like a McDonald's or something. But maybe that's just me. But The Order. You have Heath Ledger as the centerpiece revolving around the investigation of the suspicious death of an excommunicated priest and the discovery of a Sin Eater headquartered in Rome. And I mean, good cast overall in here. Heath Ledger, Shannon Sossaman, Mark Addy, Peter Weller. And speaking of Ledger and Addy, I couldn't believe this until I looked this up here. Guess who directed this movie? Ryan Helgeland. Ryan Helgeland is a pretty damn good filmmaker. I mean, this is a guy that wrote L.A. Confidential, Mystic River. He directed Payback. He directed A Knight's Tale. He's done stuff like 42 and Legend. This guy's a really good filmmaker. How the hell did he get involved with this movie? I mean, just wow. This is a film that, like I said, this was before Da Vinci Code, but you could see a lot of Da Vinci Code-esque similarities in this film. Also throw in a lot of Exorcist. I mean, we were trying to... This is still around the time when The Exorcist was still relevant because the re-release came out a couple of years before the director's cut version, and we were about to have Exorcist at the beginning of the following year. But as far as this film goes, it's not a very good film. It's a very lackluster film. You really can't tell exactly what direction they're trying to go for here. Do they want to be more like The Exorcist, or do they want it to be like more this mysterious thriller film? And when you get to the actual thriller aspect and the mystery aspect, it just doesn't work. And it's a film that just really just falls apart on a number of different levels. And it's just a film that you really expect a lot more from, considering the talent on board, considering who's written and directed the film. I mean, Brian Helgeland has done a lot better than this movie. This is easily the worst thing he's ever done as a filmmaker. And he's done a lot of stuff, but, I mean, I'm sorry. When you do stuff like L.A. Confidential and Mystic River, and you've done so many other movies that have actually been good, and you make something like this, not good. Not good indeed. But then again, that's why they dumped this out on Labor Day weekend, because the studio probably knew it was bad, and just decided, screw it, we're going to put it out here, hope for the best, and no, not so much. And, yeah, it bombed pretty badly. $35 million budget, only $11 million taken in. So that should pretty much tell you everything you know about this movie. The Order, I'll pass on that. Thank you very much.
Winning one has to rig the game.
It was supposed to be the perfect crime.
I will calmly waltz away with $20 million of cash. You join me and share the spoils. You dig it? I can dig it.
But there was one thing they didn't plan on.
Hell has come out of hiding.
Once upon a time in Mexico.
Oh yeah, it might get a wee bit dangerous there, sugar, but
Rated R opens everywhere Friday.
This is also kind of considered Desperado too, because of course you have Antonio Banderas back again as El Mariachi, and in this you have him recruited by a CIA agent played by Johnny Depp to kill a corrupt general responsible for the death of his wife Carolina, played by Salma Hayek. And you see Eva Mendes is also in here as well as Mickey Rourke, Danny Trejo, Enrique Iglesias, Cheech Marin, Ruben Blades, Willem Dafoe. It was definitely a bigger film than anyone could have possibly have predicted when the first El Mariachi came out almost 10 years ago. And this was a big hit. I mean, it was a film that made a ton of money. You know, Robert Rodriguez had only made Spy Kids 3D just not even 2 months before this came out. And the film did very well. It was a film that was very well received by the general public. Mixed reviews from most critics, who basically said it was kind of like it had a lot of problems in terms of like reducing its protagonist down to almost a secondary character in his own trilogy and a convoluted plot. But Robert Rodriguez himself has said that was kind of the point, is he wanted this to be like Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of this particular trilogy. And on that level, I can definitely see that, because there is a lot here to admire about the film. I think the film is very well done. Johnny Depp, I think, really is giving a breakout performance in this particular film, especially when you consider that he was already giving a pretty good breakout performance in Pirates of the Caribbean a couple of months before this. This was a really good year for him. I mean, 2 great performances in 1 year. And it's just a fun movie, man. You could tell that Robert Rodriguez put a ton of effort into this. He knew that he had to go out big for the last installment of his El Mariachi trilogy, and I think he did a pretty good job of handling that. It's a very good film, ton of great action, ton of good writing, ton of good direction. You could definitely tell that he took a lot of inspiration from Sergio Leone while making this film, and it definitely shows on screen here. Not much more I can say. It's a really damn good film. Can't recommend it enough. Once Upon a Time in Mexico. So let's go ahead and get on to probably the most underrated movie of the entire weekend, and that is, of course, Nicolas Cage and Ridley Scott's Matchstick Men.
Matchstick Man is deviously clever with the sense of humor. It's a 21st century version of the Sting.
What do you think we can take that guy for? 30 grand more.
$1 million?
Nicolas Cage turns in a tour-de-force performance with heart and soul.
I'm not very good at being a dad. I really defy being me.
Director Ridley Scott has a well-some tricks up his sleeve in this twisting caper comedy. Matchstick Man, rated PG-13, starts Friday, September 12th.
You know, I've kind of talked bad about Ridley Scott over the last couple of years, mostly because we don't get that same Ridley Scott anymore that we did back in the day when you got really excited to see what he could do. But every time he makes a new movie now, it always feels like the same. There's always a lot of promise going into it, and that's always underwhelming when it's over and done with. He hasn't made a legitimately good movie in the last 10 years, with the exception of The Martian, of course. But other than that, though, most of his movies have been very much underperformers and films that just weren't that good. This is back when Ridley Scott was really good at doing stuff that you didn't expect to see from him, because this is a really damn good movie where you have Nicolas Cage and Sam Rockwell playing a couple of professional small-town con artists, where Cage is a veteran of the grift and Rockwell's his ambitious protege. Their swing these days are water filtration systems, marking basement water filters bought by unsuspecting people who pay 10 times their value in order to win bogus prizes like cars, jewelry, overseas vacations, stuff they can never collect. Their scams net the flim-flam men a few hundred here and there, another 1,000 here, which eventually adds up into a lucrative partnership. Roy's private life, however, is not so successful. As an obsessive-compulsive agoraphobe with no personal relationship to his own, Roy is barely hanging on to his wits when his idiosyncrasies begin to threaten his criminal productivity. He's forced to seek the help of a psychoanalyst just to keep him in working order. When Roy is looking for a quick fix, his therapy begets more than he bargained for the revelation that he has a teenage daughter, here played by Alison Lohman, a child whose existence he suspected but he never dared confirm. 14-year-old Angela wants to meet her father, so she never knew. At first, Angela's appearance disrupts her neurotic father's carefully ordered routine. Soon, however, with his own unique spin of parenthood, Roy begins to enjoy a relationship which he never dreamed of having with his daughter. But when he develops paternal feelings to the 14-year-old, she develops a fascination with Daddy's questionable career. So, it's a very interesting con game being played here, where the con is not the biggest thing about the film. It's about the people involved in the con. It's a very damn good movie that's so underrated by Ridley Scott. It's the film that I think... This is what I really like about Ridley Scott back in the day. Like, you could tell he had high ambitions for projects that were kind of outside of his norm, And with a great talent like Nicolas Cage, Sam Rockwell, Alison Lohman to make it work, it's a film that really is well done on so many levels. It's a film that is so damn good. I remember wanting to see it when I saw the trailers for it back in the day. I never got around to it until most recently, and I'm glad I finally did, because this is a film that definitely deserves to get a lot more respect and attention than it deserves. It's Nicolas Cage showing what Nicolas Cage can do as an actor. Sam Rockwell showing what he can do. Alison Lohman, Bruce McGill's also in here, and this is what Ridley Scott does so well. This is what I missed from a guy like Ridley Scott from back in the day. And what compared to what we do have from him now, it's just like, it feels like this is the Ridley Scott we've been missing for the longest period of time. And it's just such a damn good movie, man. I can't recommend this one enough. If you have not seen Matchstick Men, you are doing yourself a major disservice by not doing so. Definitely seek this one out, because you will not be disappointed by it by any means. So that is Matchstick Men. Let's go ahead and get to Eli Roth with his first feature film as a director, Cabin Fever. I mean, honestly, I think I just need to play one single clip here to really give you the understanding of what the feel of this movie is.
Pancakes! Pancakes!
No pancakes.
Pancakes!
No pancakes! I told you to stay on this way! Damn it!
I mean, that scene right there pretty much tells you what kind of a movie you're in for. And if you're not laughing, you want to... When I first saw that in full for the first time ever, I laughed my ass off. I thought that was so friggin' funny. That whole scene just makes no sense whatsoever. It plays no part of the movie. The only reason that scene is in there is because Eli Roth knew that this kid did martial arts and decided to just let him do that for no particular reason whatsoever. And lo and behold, that's why it's in the movie. And that's one of the reasons why I love this movie, man. This is a film that, pretty standard plot for a horror film. You have a group of college graduates who decide to rent a cabin in the woods and begin to fall victim to a flesh-eating disease. The inspiration of the film story actually came from a real-life experience during a trip to Iceland when Roth developed a skin infection. And, hilarity and hijinks ensue, quite literally. I mean, this isn't really a horror comedy per se all the way through, but it's got a lot of those funny elements to it that just, like, makes you feel like, okay, you weren't meant to be taking this seriously whatsoever. I mean, that's just one of the many moments in this particular movie that will make you laugh out loud big time. The other one will be when involving a deer. I won't say what happens, but it's one thing that you really need to see to truly believe how insane this is. I mean, this is a film that is so ridiculously over the top and goofy, and yet can still be very intense and terrifying at the same time. It's just like, it's an old-fashioned horror film, like an old-fashioned horror comedy in a way. Maybe not quite to the levels of something like a Ghostbusters or a Gremlins, but, you know, when Friday the 13th gets in Nightmare on Elm Street get as corny and as scary as they can be, like, that's what this reminded me of so much. And it just shows what Eli Roth is capable of as a filmmaker. I mean, it's not a great movie, but man, it's a fun-ass time to watch. Even if you're not the biggest horror movie person ever, you're gonna get a lot of good kicks out of this movie. I mean, this is a film that is so ridiculously stupid, so over the top, so corny, and yet sometimes it will scare the bejesus out of you at times. Like, it's a damn good movie, man. It's a fun, guilty pleasure movie. I wouldn't say damn good, but it's a damn good guilty pleasure movie. How about that? Let's just go with that. So yeah, that is Cabin Fever. But let's go ahead and get to what is easily the best movie of the entire weekend. I think you can all agree with me on this one. Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson in Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation.
He doesn't fit in. That's all he said. So he may as well stand out. On September 12th,
Get ready.
This is my studio.
What? Get set. And get lost in one of the fall's most original films.
I'm trying to organize a prison break.
It's electrifying. Lost in Translation, rated R.
I mean, just the fact that this movie starts off with a lovely shot of Scarlett Johansson's ass. I mean, no joke. This film literally starts off with a opening credit sequence where you see Scarlett Johansson in underwear with her ass facing the camera, and the title goes "Lost in Translation." That's when you know you're in for a good movie. But other than that, though, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. You have Bill Murray starring as a fading American movie star who's having a midlife crisis when he travels to Tokyo to promote Suntory whiskey. Then he befriends another estranged American named Charlotte, a young woman and a recent college graduate. You also have Giovanni Ribisi and Anna Faris in here, and this really is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's not just because of the thing I just mentioned before, but the film is so brilliant. It's a brilliantly written love story that really doesn't feel like a love story at first, and it just works because of what Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson are capable of doing together in terms of acting. I mean, they work off each other so well in here. I mean, this is a film that literally shows you that Scarlett Johansson has a future in acting, and it definitely shows in this particular film. And like her chemistry with Bill Murray just works so well. But Bill Murray is so damn good in this movie too, and it hurts me not to think back to those times when Bill Murray could have won the Oscar for this. I mean, this is a film that was literally screaming for him to win an Oscar for Best Actor, but they gave it to Sean Penn. And I like Mystic River, but I'm sorry. If you're going to ask me to choose between Mystic River and Lost in Translation, Lost in Translation is going to win easily. I mean, it also has a lot of great shots of the city of Japan. It kind of reminds me of the Japanese equivalent to something like Before Sunrise, kind of. You have a relationship between these two different people, and you're following them throughout the course of the movie. And just like Before Sunrise, this is a film that just works so well because you've got these two great people working off each other. You've got this great backdrop of Japan. It's a really damn good movie that just really, every time I get a chance to watch it, I'm always glued to the TV because it's just like, it's such a really impressive film, and it has a nice ending to it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and really, it's hard not to see why. This is a film that is so brilliant. Sofia Coppola does a phenomenal job as the writer and director here. It's a movie that, like I said, should have gotten Bill Murray the Oscar, and unfortunately it didn't. Should have probably won Best Picture too, but the thing that won Best Picture, I can see why it won Best Picture, but it's just a film that works on so many levels. It's a brilliant film. I can't recommend this one enough. Lost in Translation, easily the best movie of the week, one of the best movies of the year.
I am a death dealer, sworn to destroy those known as the Lycans. Our war has raged for centuries, unseen by human eyes. But all that is about to change.
Underworld, rated R.
I'm also banging the director, so that's why I've got a big part in a movie like this. No joke. I think everybody kind of knows that Kate Beckinsale and Len Wiseman are a couple, so... And you know, the old saying in Hollywood is never work with your spouse, but... Turns out these two work well off each other when it comes to these successful films, and financially successful films. The films themselves, not so much. But then again, it's also like that with the Resident Evil movies. Paul W.S. Sanderson and Mila Jovovich. But that's another story altogether. But in this film, you have a story that's the centerpiece. The centerpiece of it is the secret history between vampires and werewolves, or as they call them in this movie, Lycans, which is an abbreviated form of a lycanthrope. The main plot revolves around Celine, played by Beckinsale, who's a vampire death dealer hunting Lycans. She finds herself attracted to a human, Michael Corvin, played by Scott Speedman, who is being targeted by the Lycans. After Michael is bitten by a Lycan, Celine must decide whether to do her duty and kill her or go against her clan and save him. So it's kind of like Pocahontas in a way. I mean, it's the same. It's almost the same kind of story, except Pocahontas wasn't a vampire. Wasn't a vampire who wanted to kill werewolves, and John Smith wasn't. But was a man who was turned into a werewolf in this case. And I mean, I'll give the movie this. Some of it does kind of work. Kate Beckinsale, I made fun of her because, she was banging the director. But you know what? For a film like this, she works here pretty well. I mean, you do really like her performance in this. You can tell that she is giving it her all. Like, she isn't having any relationships with the director. Like, she's really giving it her all in this performance. You know, the visual style of the film looks pretty cool in general. The mythology they kind of set up really is something that is kind of interesting, and I kind of wish they would have expanded on it a little bit more. I know they do it in other movies, but it gets stupider and stupider with every film. In this film, it's not good enough for me to say that it's something that I would recommend. It's a film that really takes a really cool idea and just doesn't really do anything with it. It's very pretentious at times, and it runs way too long. It's tedious. I mean, it's a film that's over 2 hours long, just a little over 2 hours long. I think 121 minutes. I think was the final runtime for this, and you just never really feel like you get the full grasp of what they were trying to go with here. And like I said, they do expand on this in other movies, but when they keep expanding it, it just gets stupider and stupider with every movie that comes out. And they've done, like, what, 5 movies up to this point? 5 or 6, I think. But I mean, here, it's like, there's good ideas to it. There's some fun ideas in general here, but it never goes to that second level to make the film really become the film that you think it should be. I think it's a film that has a lot of good ideas to it, some really cool visuals, a good leading performance, but just not enough in the execution of the story to really take it to the next level, to make it that film that has to be a must-see film. And it's kind of a shame, too, because, like I said, I badmouthed this performance and Kate Beckinsale and the director in the beginning, but you could see that they had a vision of what they were trying to do here, but when it was all said and done, you just really didn't get the full grasp of what they were trying to accomplish. And I think that really is the weak link of the entire film, is that the story just isn't coming together well enough, and there's not much there to grasp the audience into wanting to keep coming back to these movies. I think the reason why this was such a success was because there wasn't really a whole lot there. I mean, there was a lot of, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of other better movies out there, but I don't know, maybe it was because of Halloween, maybe that's because of why it was successful the first time around, but good ideas overall, but not enough for me to say it's something I would recommend. It's just something that's kind of like, it's okay for what it is, but I wouldn't watch it after one watch. Like, after one watch, I feel like I've accomplished my goal with this. And, like I said, they do get worse from here on out. So, if you're looking for the best one, here you go, Underworld. So with that said, let's move on to the next movie, and that is Secondhand Lions.
Last week, only one movie had audiences across America laughing and applauding. Secondhand Lions is one of the year's most welcome surprises. 4 stars, smart and entertaining. It's refreshing to see a movie aimed at kids as well as grown-ups. And Jeffrey Lyons rates it the best family film since Finding Nemo. Secondhand Lions, rated PG, now playing. And this Friday, be the first to see the new Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King trailer with Secondhand Lions in selected theaters.
Yeah, probably not a good sign if you're promoting the trailer premiere for The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King to get people to come to your movie. I mean, it's like the equivalent of saying, come see Scooby-Doo and you'll see the new Harry Potter trailer. I still gotta sit through Scooby-Doo. That's a problem. And, but unlike Scooby-Doo, this film is actually not half bad. I mean, it looks like a generic family film in general, but it does have a little bit more to it. I mean, it's a story where you have a young boy played by Haley Joel Osment, who's an introvert who's sent to live with his eccentric great-uncles Robert Duvall and Michael Caine on a farm in Texas. This is written and directed by Tim McCandless, who did The Iron Giant, wrote the script for that, and David Kirshner is, of course, the producer behind the Child's Play movies, did a lot of stuff for Hanna-Barbera, was one of the main people behind The Pagemaster. This is a film that has a lot of talent on board here, and this is the last film I think that they tried to sell Haley Joel Osment on as a star after The Sixth Sense, because I think this was the last film he did before he kind of took that break from Hollywood after years of trying to be the next big thing, and they never really found a market for him. The movie is pretty good. It's a film that it can be very schmaltzy at times, but the writing and the direction of Tim McCandless, I think, really does shine through, and the casting of these 3 actors shows why they were all Oscar nominees. They all work off each other very well here. You've also got a cast that also includes Keira Sedgwick, Josh Lucas, Deidre O'Connell. You got who else is in here? I'm at a loss for. I mean, there's people in here, but there's not a lot of names you probably recognize. Like if you see faces and put names to them, like Nicky Katt or Emmanuel Vulgier or Travis Willingham. You probably know who they are, but the big names in particular here, they do carry the film all the way through. And like I said, it's very schmaltzy at times. It does feel like it's all bordering on an Oscar bait type of movie where it could possibly go wrong in a millisecond, but it never really goes to that level. It knows where to play it safe. It knows how to keep you entertained, and it knows how to keep your investment, because you do get involved with everyone involved in this film. I mean, you do like the uncles. It's eventually during the movie. You do get behind Haley Joel Osment's character. You do get a sense that there is more to it than what it would look like from the trailers alone. It was a film that I didn't really expect a whole lot from the first time I saw it, but watching it in full, I'm glad I finally got to see what everyone else was seeing, because it was a film that definitely is a lot better than I think a lot of people gave it credit for. I mean, it's a film that I think works very well on its own. It's kind of a little underrated little gem. I'd say definitely check it out. I do think it's a film that definitely deserves a lot more attention than I think it's gotten. It's a really good film. It's a film that I was actually kind of surprised at how much I enjoyed. Speaking of movies that I'm kind of surprised I enjoyed, Cuba Gooding Jr. actually did make a good movie in 2003, contrary to popular belief, with a movie that we'll have with him coming up next month, and then we had Boat Trip early in the year. Here's him with Beyonce Knowles in The Finding Temptations.
No matter where you come from,
Want to be my girlfriend? Sorry, but I want to marry Michael Jackson.
or where your dreams take you.
Congratulations. You've just been promoted.
The one thing that never changes is the place called home.
After you know I'm going straight back to New York City.
You don't know what you're missing. Oh, it's down south. We booty experts, bootyologists.
I'm on fire.
You really don't remember me? I was determined to be Mrs. Michael Jackson.
And how's that going?
Oh, it turns out I'm not as tight.
We're my only surviving relative. On the condition that Darren gets the choir accepted into the annual gospel competition.
I'm not leading some small-time choir.
$150,000.
I was just kidding about that small-town stuff.
Auditions for the Beauty Baptist Church Choir now open.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, after Boat Trip and Radio, you really aren't the one that should be saying, "You've got to be kidding me, Cuba." I mean, let's just be honest with you. But again, he had a good movie in 2003, and he stars in here as Darren Hall, who travels to his hometown of Monte Carlo, Georgia, where he attempts to revive a church choir in order to enter a gospel competition. He seeks the help of a beautiful lounge singer and childhood friend, played by Beyonce Knowles, and this was actually, I believe, her... Now, this was his second feature film after Austin Powers and Goldmember. I was going to say it's her first, but with whom he falls in love with. And throughout the choir's music, Darren brings the church community back together, all the while wooing Lily. And the film really is very good. The director of this is Jonathan Lynn, who gave us stuff like My Cousin Vinny. You know, he's made a ton of great movies in general. He also did Clue, The Distinguished Gentleman, the criminally underrated film Sergeant Bilko, Trial and Error, The Whole Nine Yards. Some fun movies in general. And this is a really good movie. I think it's a lot better. It's one of those ones that kind of like with Secondhand Lions. I think it's a better film than people let on. It's a film where, you know, everyone thought the chemistry between Gooding and Knowles didn't work very well. Quite the opposite. I think they work off each other well enough to make it worth it in the end. Yeah, the script is very much another movie, like a Sister Act type of thing, where we got, you know, or kind of a breaking kind of film where it's just like we got to save the rec center or save the church and all that type of stuff. But it works because, one, the music is very good. They have a lot of great music and covers in this. I mean, Beyonce singing Fever is just... I mean, it's Beyonce Knowles. What the hell do you expect? But and the acting overall is good. The comedy overall is very good. They've got a lot of great talent here to work off of these performances. Steve Harvey's in here. Faith Evans, Mike Epps, Wendell Pierce. There's a lot of cameos from like people like the Blind Boys of Alabama, Daphne Dupleix, Needy Links from the show The New Normal. You also have Melba Moore in here. A lot of great singers in general in here and actors in general to make this stuff work here. This is like Tyler Perry before Tyler Perry came to be. It's like a movie that, and I say that as like it's a bad thing. Like Tyler Perry's early work, I've actually started watching some of it because I'm going to have to get to it at some point. His early works, like Diary of a Mad Black Woman, is not as bad as you think it would be compared to what it is now. It's like, you can tell that Tyler Perry at least had an idea of what he was trying to accomplish here. And you can see little bits and pieces of that in this particular film. Maybe not all the way through, but it's definitely, it's like, I think like this is what Diary of Matt Blackburn was trying to become when was trying to become, and it became something completely different. But this film, very well done. Oh, Reba McClanahan's also in here too. I forgot to mention her. Good talent all the way through. It's a good movie by Cuba Gooding Jr. in 2003. I mean, this is at a point when he was at his lowest point in his career, and we're gonna get to the low point next month. You thought Boat Trip was bad? Oh, wait till we get to the third film he was in 2003. But we can at least say that this was probably this was easily his best film of the year. It was a film that is kind of very underrated. Underrated film for both Cuba and Beyonce Knowles. A good, fun film all the way through. I had a good time with it. I definitely think it's an underrated little gem. So let's move on to our next movie, which I don't know off the top of my head. Here it is. Dennis Quaid and Sharon Stone in Cold Creek Manor.
Anything about people who lived in the house before us?
They just disappeared.
On September 19th, the suspense thriller of the fall will leave you breathless.
Wanting to escape city life on the countryside, New Yorkers Dennis Quaid and Sharon Stone and their 2 children move into a dilapidated old mansion still filled with the possessions of the previous family. Turning it into their dream home soon becomes a living nightmare when the previous owner, Stephen Dorff, shows up, and a series of terrifying events lead them on a spine-tingling search for clues to the estate's dark and lurid past. It's the Amityville Horror. I mean, it's the Amityville Horror meets What Lies Beneath meets Night Swim meets whatever the hell other movies you can think of here. And Mike Figgis really went out on a high note with this. This is the same director that gave us Leaving Las Vegas. But honestly, ever since then, he hasn't made a lot of good films in general. Leaving Las Vegas was a masterpiece pretty much, but this is one of his lowest points as a filmmaker. I mean, like I said, it's a knockoff. It's a bad knockoff of the Amityville Horror, except that it's not a supernatural demon coming out and killing these people. But we've seen the story done over and over again. It's the same type of movie. You've seen this done so many times, and they don't do anything different with it. I mean, too many good people involved in this movie. Like Dennis Quaid and Sharon Stone, I don't think I need to say how good they are as actors. Stephen Dorff can be a good actor, too. Juliette Lewis is a great actress. Kristen Stewart, you forget that from the Twilight, outside of Twilight, she's a very good actress. Christopher Plummer's great. There's a lot of good talent involved here, and even the director's very good, but he just can't find that spark again that made Leaving Las Vegas the great film that was. And this film just feels like it's just trying to do something that feels like every other movie of its type has done before. It's a movie that just, I mean, it's one of those movies that just feels like it's a mess. It's just ripping off so many other movies and thinking that we're going to be the next generation Amityville Horror. No, you're just going to be another recopy of that film. Poltergeist is another thing you could probably bring into this too, but again, that's not really supernatural elements here. But yeah, this is not a very good film. This is a film that is just by the numbers. You see where it's going. You know how it's going to end. You know how it's going to turn out. It's just like it's not worth it in the long run. And people were smart enough to avoid it because it was not a huge hit when it came out. And yeah, you spent $45 million on this movie. Like, for $45 million, you better think of something better than this slop right here. But that is Cold Creek Manor. So how about we end the show on a better note? Let's talk about Woody Allen's newest film, probably one of his most underrated films in my opinion, that is Anything Else.
We'll go inside, we'll have a good dinner, okay? We'll have some wine, you can relax.
Don't be mad at me, but I ate.
You ate?
I had a little sliver of that Sara Lee cream cheesecake, and then I had another one, and you know what I'm like when I get started. Before I knew it, I had finished the whole cake.
You ate the whole Sara Lee cream cheesecake?
And then I figured, what the hell? So I finished off the cold spaghetti in the refrigerator, and I ate that last lobster tail, and then I heated up some chicken. I've had a crush on you since we met. Couldn't you tell the way I was ignoring you?
There was something compelling about your apathy.
Do you think I'm fat?
I think you're amazing looking.
You must really have a crush on me.
I do?
I'd say it's fatal.
I can't believe I'm in love with a smoker.
So you see Jason Biggs, who plays a guy who meets with Woody Allen. They meet at a business meeting, become fast friends, and their commonality is that they are both fledgling New York City-based comedy writers, largely writing material for stand-up. They're Jewish, although David is an atheist, Woody Allen's character, and are each a bundle of different neuroses. Their big difference is that Jerry is 21 and David is 60, with 40 more years of life experience, knowledge, and neurosis. While Jerry writes full-time, he's also working on a novel. David keeps his day job as a public school teacher just in case. In the relationship, David becomes somewhat of Jerry's mentor, probably providing advice on Jerry's life issues, most revolving around the fact that Jerry is a product of inertia, having trouble learning anything, and leaving anyone, I should say. That's why Jerry's still with the only manager who's ever had him, played by Danny DeVito. He's not only become his only client, but he's also a testament to his effectiveness on the job. But Harvey is also a 25% take on the stipulation in their contract, which is extended for another 7 years. That's why Jerry is still in therapy, and a psychologist who has done him no good who advises Jerry to stay in therapy with him as opposed to taking the job in Los Angeles, California. This is a long synopsis I'm reading off here, so bear with me. But I'm going to get to my review in just a second here. But that's not being able to leave largely applies to his love life. Jerry already has one divorce. He's having problems with his current girlfriend, played by Christina Ricci, who he believes is the love of his life. He falls in love with her at first sight when he's already in a cohabitable relationship with Katie Strickland, playing Brooke, and Amanda's dating Jerry's friend, played by Jimmy Fallon. Even after Jerry begins sleeping with Amanda, he cannot be upfront with Brooke about the situation, leaving her to figure out the lies. What Jerry is unable or unwilling to see is that Amanda not only manipulates him, but that he focuses on the things between them that makes them truly compatible, while disregarding those many more things which makes them incompatible. What has made the relationship more difficult of late is that her mother, who's trying to find herself, has moved in with them in their small apartment. Despite David's unique view of life, he may be able to see Jerry and Amanda's relationship more clearly as an objective bystander. The question becomes how much of David's advice Jerry will take in its entirety. That was 2 minutes of me running the synopsis for this. And if you watch the trailer for this movie, this trailer does not do a very good job of selling the movie because it mainly focuses on the Jason Biggs and Christina Ricci relationship. I mean, the whole trailer is nothing but those two. I mean, it's a weird situation to put it in. Like, it's like they have this other big story, and you got all these big names in here: Woody Allen, Danny DeVito, Jimmy Fallon, Katie Strickland. I didn't even mention Stockard Channing is in this as well. Erica Leifson, Adrian Grenier, pre-Entourage, Fisher Stevens, Diana Krall. Like, there's a lot of people in this movie, and yet the trailer focuses just on Jason Biggs and Christina Ricci. In fact, the poster just focuses on Jason Biggs and Christina Ricci. Like, they're the focal point of the movie when they're kind of half the movie. So why would I be saying that this is kind of one of Woody Allen's underrated films? Well, aside from the trailer and the marketing kind of misselling you on it, it's probably the best Woody Allen movie I've seen from him since Mighty Aphrodite. I mean, it's a film where you see slowly but surely what makes Woody Allen great coming back in form. This is right before he had his big comeback with stuff like Match Point, and then Scoop, and then Vicky Cristina Barcelona, and then Midnight in Paris. These great movies that we'll eventually get down to here in the next couple of years. But this is a really fun film. I really enjoy it because it shows Jason Biggs. Like, you know, Jason Biggs kind of gets a bad rap as an actor, but here's a movie where he does get to show what he can do as an actor, and he does play a character that's kind of different outside of his character from American Pie. Christina Ricci is very good in here. I like their chemistry together. I like Woody Allen's storyline here. I like the storyline he has with Stockard Channing. I like Danny DeVito in here. The humor in here works very well. It's definitely not one of the best Woody Allen movies, but it's definitely one of the ones that I think gets a bad rap because it was around that time period when Woody Allen was making these lesser films that weren't doing as well as they should. But this was starting to begin the trend of coming back to form for Woody Allen. I think that's what makes this movie work for me, is because you're starting to see a little bit of those tropes that Woody Allen does so well coming back into play here, and it works in this particular film. They've got a good cast to make it work. They've got good ideas to make it work. It's not really that long of a film, honestly. It's just a little over an hour and a half, and you do really get to see, slowly but surely, Woody Allen's prominence coming back into form here. Most people don't really appreciate it, but I think it's a very underrated film. I think it's a film that definitely deserves a lot more attention. It's a very fun film, a very well-written film, a good acted film overall. Excuse me. It just works. I think it works very well. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. Anything else?
He's a good man.
I do not want to hurt them.
In a bad business.
I do not want to fight.
But even good men
We are not fighting.
get pushed too far.
Try to be reasonable.
This Friday, see the movie that marks the arrival of The Rock
I'm impressed.
as a bona fide movie star.
Do you work out?
Thumbs up with a rundown rated PG-13 at theaters Friday.
The movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger literally pats Dwayne Johnson and tells him, "You're the next big action star." And he was right, eventually, after a couple of misfires, a couple of years after this movie came out. But he did eventually become a big action star. He plays a bounty hunter here who travels to Brazil to retrieve his employer's son, played by Sean William Scott. And, of course, you have Christopher Walken involved as the antagonist. Rosario Dawson's also in here as well. And chaos and hilarity ensues. And I guess you could kind of say this is in the same vein as something like a Romancing the Stone meets a little bit of not War of the Roses, that's a completely different movie, Jewel of the Nile, which it's not really a romantic comedy. It does have its elements, a little bit of a romantic comedy at times, but the movie is still a ton of fun. This is the movie, I think, that woke everybody up and made people realize that, Dwayne Johnson's got a bright acting future ahead of him. I mean, this is a guy that, they were really, like I said, there's literally a scene where Schwarzenegger, who was literally there on the set of the film and was having lunch with The Rock, and Peter Berg said, "Hey, do you want to appear in the film?" And Schwarzenegger said, "Yeah." And then 15 minutes in, he was on the set, and it was actually the last film he did before he eventually became governor of California. Like I said, it sets the tone for him to become the next big action star. And Sean William Scott in here is pretty good, too. Like, he doesn't get the proper respect I think he deserves. I mean, he's a guy that I think really... Like, there was a time when he was trying to get out of that Stifler mode, and there was a lot of comedies he was in that didn't work. I already talked about a couple of them on the show in particular. But here, he actually does work off well with The Rock in here. The action sequences are very fun. Rosario Dawson's very good in here. Christopher Walken has a lot of good funny moments in here. It's a really good, fun film. It's a fun action movie. It actually underperformed when it came out, if I'm not mistaken. The thing cost $85 million, and it just missed that mark by about $4 million, being at $81 million worldwide, which basically kind of shut down a sequel, which I'm okay with, honestly, because especially now when they try to do sequels 20 years plus later, 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work out very well. So it doesn't really bother me that we never got a sequel for this, because this is just good enough on its own. A really fun movie. I can't recommend it enough. It's a good film. The Rock is great. Sean William Scott's great. Peter Berg's great as the director. The rundown. So, let's go ahead and move on to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. We go from a romantic comedy to a romantic comedy, if you will, with Under the Tuscan Sun.
Welcome to Tuscany!
This Friday, fall in love
Rich has got a house in Tuscany.
under the Tuscan sun.
There's hot water in the toilet bowl. This is really bad, isn't it? That's gonna give your butt a facial.
It's funny, seductive, touching, sexy, and smart. Diane Lane is Oscar-worthy.
Good things can happen. It's such a surprise.
It's the most beautiful film of the year.
It's freedom.
Under the Tuscan Sun. Rated PG-13. See it this Friday.
Kind of similar to another Diane Lane movie that came out later in the decade, Nights of Rodanthe. You have Diane Lane as a recently divorced writer who buys a villa in Tuscany on a whim, hoping it will lead to a change in her life. And the change in her life is a new man in her life. And kind of like with the rundown, chaos and hilarity ensues. And what you get here is pretty much what you expect from the trailers for this. I mean, it's a simple romantic comedy where you have Diane Lane, falling in love with somebody. You gotta have all those moments where, like, it's like there's a third act breakup, and then they gotta get back together at the end. Nothing really that new or extravagant here, except for a good view of the city of Tuscany. I mean, it does work very nicely with the cinematography in general, but other than that, though, the rest of the movie is kind of generic. There's nothing really that funny about it. The romance is not really all that engaging in general, and it's just okay for what it is. Nothing too spectacular, nothing too incredible. Very short review for this one, so that's Under the Tuscan Sun for you. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Ben Stiller and Drew Barrymore starring in Danny DeVito's Duplex.
Tomorrow, wow.
It's gonna look great.
Comedy has a new home. Gotta drive them out of here. And the movie critics are calling hysterical.
Could you give me a hand with the oven?
Multiplex is part Meet the Parents, part There's Something About Mary. Enough is enough.
Lay down the law.
4 stars. I'm alright. Outrageously funny. Ben Stiller and Drew Barrymore are a perfect match. CLIPLESS.
Welcome home, handsome.
PG-13. Starts tomorrow.
Definitely not one of the early signs of a promising movie with a trailer like that that's kind of all over the place. It doesn't really have an idea of what the hell they're trying to accomplish here, but you got Ben Stiller and Drew Barrymore. They're a young couple who believes they have found the perfect home to start a family in. There is just one problem, though. An elderly tenant is staying upstairs and won't move out. Alex and Nancy desperately try everything to convince her to leave, but she refuses to move. And soon their dream home becomes the home of nightmares. And this is directed by Danny DeVito, and it doesn't feel like a Danny DeVito directed film. At least with something like Death to Smoochie, which, did he write that too, or was that somebody else that wrote it? Okay, it was somebody else that wrote it. I thought he wrote that one as well, but when Danny DeVito isn't having a hand in the script in general, and he's just directing a film written by somebody else, and he's not really given an opportunity to really put his spin on it, the film really does suffer for it. Even though they got a good writer here, Larry Doyle, who's done a lot of work for The Simpsons, a lot of work for the Looney Tunes cartoons. I mean, there is a fun concept here, but it could be like a mix between Throw Mama from the Train and The Money Pit, but it never goes that dark route that Danny DeVito is so well known for. The funniest scene in the whole movie is in the trailer where Ben Stiller is getting blown away by the oven light, like he's getting blasted across the room. That's not a good sign if you're selling that in the trailer alone. Maybe not alone, but in the trailer, it's the one selling point that makes you go like, okay, that's actually really funny. Let's see what else they do. And they never do anything that clever or funny with it. I mean, it's a film that just has so much potential to it, and it just feels like a film that Danny DeVito really needed his hand in the script for this, to really put his stamp on how to tell this story and make it not feel like something he's done before, because it does feel a lot like Throw Mama from the Train, like a retread of Throw Mama from the Train, except Throw Mama from the Train actually had balls to it and actually did a lot more funny things in that film than they do in this movie. You also got this subplot with Harvey Fierstein, Justin Theroux is in here, James Ramirez. So there is a good cast involved in here, and there are good ideas, just not enough execution there to keep the film afloat and make it something unique and different, and feels more like just a retread of stuff we've seen done to death so many times beforehand. And this is the last thing Danny DeVito directed. I mean, this is the last thing he ever directed as a feature film. He did direct a short film, I should say, about 13 years later. But other than that, he hasn't directed a movie since this. And to go out on this note, it's unfortunate, because Danny DeVito still is a good director, and there is still a lot of potential what he could do as a filmmaker. But, I mean, it just doesn't show here in this film. This just feels like a film he just took a quick paycheck on, hoping for the best, and not given the opportunity to come in and change the script around. And that hurts him in the long run. It's a film that has some good ideas to it, but never really exceeds those expectations. It just becomes a direct kind of a film. So that's a skip on this one. So with that said, let's move on to our next movie, and that is National Lampoon Presents Dorm Days.
And giving it the old college try.
Oh, I can take it all, baby.
Freshman year in college has never been wilder, raunchier, or more hilarious. National Lampoon presents Dorm Days.
One of the worst comedies ever made. Period. I mean, this is a film that's literally trying to sell you on the sex appeal, and that's it. There's nothing clever, there's nothing funny here. I'll tell you about the plot of the movie, but I don't think I really need to do that. But as Christmas break approaches, the dormitories at Billingsley University are restless with sex-crazed students. Although eager to relinquish his burdens of virginity, Booker, played by Chris Owen, has thus far failed in his endeavors. His charitable older brother Styles, played by Patrick Renna, does the sensible thing and hires a prostitute to usher Booker into the realm of manhood. However, some misunderstandings complicating this procedure, prompting sophomore shenanigans. In addition, you have people like Tatiana Ali, who's probably the biggest name in the film, honestly. Next to that, Danielle Fishel from Boy Meets World, Topanga. Cameron Richardson, who would have a great career starring in stuff like Supercross and Alvin and the Chipmunks. I can't even finish that sentence without laughing. Like, a lot of these actors in here they're just not really, they're not really saving this material. I mean, this is one of those movies that's trying to be the next Van Wilder. It's trying to be the next Animal House, the next big college film. And it really is not. Like, it's one of those movies where it has the nudity in there, but you know what? We have this thing called the internet, and that means you can go and look for those moments anytime, and you shouldn't be wasting your money watching this garbage. It's one of those... They made a lot of these movies back then, National Lampoon did, where they were trying to recapture some of that old magic. And I was the sucker that bought into most of them. I sucked myself into this one. I bought myself into Replicate with Eugene Levy and Ali Landry, which was not that great. What was the other one? There was one more I think I saw. Adam and Eve with Emmanuel Shariki. None of those movies worked. Even the ones they made for TV, like there was a TBS Thanksgiving movie they did with Bryan Cranston and the mom from Lizzie McGuire. That was not that good. And like National Lampoon just fell off the map. Really, after a long period of time with Animal House, Vacation, and then they tried to come back with Van Wilder, and that was a success. And then nothing of value came from it. And this is one of those films that really is not anything worthy of your time. Like the jokes don't work. The sex doesn't really sell out all that much. The writing is not that great. The acting is not that great. It just what didn't work. It just did not work as a whole. It's a film that I remember not liking after I was looking forward to it, and I immediately regret ever watching this movie. And I've never seen any of the other National Lampoon Dorm Days films because there was apparently a trilogy of them, even though the last film was originally the third film in the series, but they reworked that as a standalone film. But it's the same movie as these films. It's got the same people involved in it. It's the same writing team, the same directing team. It's the same movies in general, and it's just like, yeah, this is just not worth it. And you got to be kidding me! Like these are the same. You want to know what the writers of this? Pat Casey and Warren Miller. You know what else they did that I just saw? These guys did Sonic the Hedgehog. Both the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. I mean, kind of like with Soul Plane, you can't believe that anybody really survived this, but lo and behold, the two writers of this movie survived this and went on to actually have legitimate careers writing the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and also Violent Night, too. So they got out. They got out from this garbage, unlike everybody else did. So, good on you guys, and you probably made that the best decision you could have ever done. So yeah, I just saw that. I was literally about to go back to the page with all the movies I'm looking at here. But yeah, that just really took me by surprise that these guys did Sonic the Hedgehog and Violent Night, which are awesome movies. And this is just not. So let's go ahead and finally get to wrapping this up here. Let's talk about Pray for Rock and Roll.
When I pray, I said, yeah. You got your band, your family, and your friends. And if you're lucky, they're all one and the same.
Gina Gershon, Drea De Matteo, Mark Lucas, and Lori Petty. Pray for Rock and Roll.
There's another one you used to see a lot when you went to Blockbuster or your local video store. You'd see that cover of I think, is it Gina Gershon? I think it's Gina Gershon. Like, she's just standing in there posing with, like, her blouse half open, like, the boobs are sticking out a little bit. Then you see her belly button. Like, I used to see that a lot during a Blockbuster video, and I thought to myself, I mean, there could be something in here, but it's just something I never really had any intentions of ever watching. And when I finally did, it's about what I expected. Gina Gershon plays the front woman for Clam Dandy, an all-girl punk rock band in Los Angeles on the verge of turning 40. The band, which includes bassist Tracy, played by Drea De Matteo, lead guitarist Faith, played by Lori Petty, and drummer Sally, played by Shelley Cole, has been scrapping for a buy for over a decade without managing to land a good record deal. Jackie must decide if she wants to keep plugging away at dreams of stardom or to throw in the towel and divert herself full-time to the tattoo parlor where she works at. Along the way, the women are rocked by personal tragedies that threaten to break up the band before they get their last shot at success. I mean, if you're working at a tattoo parlor and a rock band, you haven't made it as a successful rock band, tattoo parlor probably will be the way to go. I mean, I've seen tattoo parlors be pretty successful, so there is more of an opportunity there if you're not doing well as a punk rock band. But to the movie's credit, I didn't expect too much from it, but I got a little bit more than I could have bargained for. I thought the film overall was good. I thought the music was pretty good. The visual look of the film was pretty good. The actresses who play the band, they're pretty good as well. It does have those formulaic tropes. It can be melodramatic at times. It seems like we've seen these cliches done to death so many times already, but it helps when you have a guy that was previously the music supervisor for stuff like Malcolm X and Hedwig and the Angry Itch working on the film here, and Gina Gershon really does give it her all in this movie. I think this was kind of the start of a second renaissance for her after what happened with Showgirls. She wasn't really getting a whole lot of work here, and this film really kind of sets the tone for potentially a comeback for her, and it does work very well. I thought the film worked fine for what it was doing. I thought it was a lot better than I thought it had any intention to be. Not a classic by any means necessary, but I am glad I finally got to see it and give it a chance that I would probably have never done 20 years prior. But I thought the film worked. I think it's one that works fine for what it is. For a one-time watch, it's worth it. But I don't know if I'd watch it anymore after that, though. Just my initial thinking on that. So that is Prey for Rock and Roll.